neighborhood kids, I think, are banging their heads against the wall collectively. What is happening? Oh, it stopped. Any matter? Okay. I wanted to do another reading video. This time, a very special book, The Hobbit. And I have this wooden sculpting tool, but it has a very fine point. And I thought that would be perfect for tracing the page, which is always a really lovely sound. I have I've read like the full book multiple times, but I was annotating this book while I was on a trip, and I only got halfway, so it's not fully annotated, but I annotated a lot while I was on this trip. I was testing out some highlighters. I just realized I probably shouldn't put my book over a flame. Oh my god. Okay, what if I just like put this? Oh my god. Jeez. That could have been, I mean, that would have been, well, disastrous, but anyways. So I was testing out highlighters, different highlighter colors. The Hobbit is a tale of high adventure undertaken by a company of dwarves in search of dragon-guarded gold. A reluctant partner in this perilous quest is Bilbo Baggins, a comfort-loving, unambitious hobbit who surprises even himself by his resourcefulness and his skill as a burglar. One of the most influential books of our generation. I mean, honestly, one of the best books. The Hobbit, or There and Back Again, by J.R.R. Tolkien, by Bilbo Baggins. And look at all these little symbols. Isn't that so fun? And here we have the table of contents. An unexpected party. Oh yeah, it has maps. Bit of a note on the text. Yay! There is nothing I love seeing in books more than a really good map. Oh, I've even annotated this part. So this says, West lies Mirkwood the Great. There are spiders. And I just wrote, y'all, I can't. And that is quite funny. And then this says great worms, which honestly is a pretty accurate description of a dragon. A great worm. Okay. Okay. Oh look, a little tab though. Let's just go like that. October 14th, 2019. I love how so much is explained in the first paragraph, and how it's explained. I have quite poor handwriting, so it's quite hard for me to read what I've written, but this was a while back, 2019. Chapter 1, An Unexpected Party. In a and that means comfort. I don't even think I was moving my thing at the end there. It had a perfectly round door, like a portal, painted green, with a shiny yellow brass knob in the exact middle. The door opened onto a tube-shaped hall like a tunnel. A very comfortable tunnel without smoke, with paned walls and floor tiled and carpeted, provided with polished chairs and lots of pegs for hats and coats. The Hobbit was fond of visitors. The tunnel wound on, going fairly, but not quite straight, into the side of the hill. The hill, as all the people for many miles called it, and many little round doors opened out of it, first on one side, and then on another. No going upstairs for the Hobbit. Bedrooms, bathrooms, cellars, pantries, lots of these, of course. Need, lots of pantries, wardrobes. He had whole rooms devoted to clothes. Kitchens, dining rooms, all were on the same floor, and indeed on the same passage. The best rooms were all on the left-hand side, going in, for these were the only ones to have windows. Deep-set, round windows looking over his garden and meadows beyond, sloping down to the river. What I would give to live in the Shire. I would Does that not just sound perfect? This Hobbit was a very well-to-do Hobbit, and his name was Baggins. The Bagginses has lived in the neighborhood up the hill for a time out of mind, and people considered them very respectable. Not only because most of them were rich, but also because they never had any adventures or did anything unexpected. You could tell what a Baggins would say on any question without the bother of asking it. Just put that down. This is a story of how a Baggins had an adventure and found himself doing and saying things altogether unexpected. He may have lost the neighborhood's respect, but he gained, well, you will see whether he gained anything in the end. The mother of our particular Hobbit. What is a Hobbit? I suppose hobbits need some description nowadays, since they have become rare and shy of big people, as they call us. They are, or were, a little people, about half our height, and smaller than the bearded dwarfs. Hobbits have no beards. There is little or no magic about them, except the ordinary everyday sort, which helps them to disappear quietly and quickly when large, stupid folk like you and me come blundering along, making a noise like elephants, which they can hear a mile off. I wonder if I can, They are inclined to be fat in the stomach. They dress in bright colors, chiefly yellow and green. Wear no shoes because their feet grow natural leathery soles, and thick warm brown hairs at the stuff on their heads, which is curly. Have long clever brown fingers, good-natured faces, and have a deep fruity laughs, especially after dinner, which they have twice a day when they can get it. Now you know enough to go on with. As I was saying, the mother of this Hobbit, of Bilbo Baggins that is, was the famous Belladonna Took, one of the 3 remarkable daughters of the old Took, head of the Hobbits who lived across the water. The small river that ran at the foot of the hill. It was often said in other families that long ago one of the Took ancestors must have been taken a fairy wife. That, of course, absurd. But but certainly there was something not entirely hobbit-like about them, and once in a while members of the Took clan would go and have adventures. They discreetly disappeared, and the family hushed it up, but the fact remained that the Tooks were not as respectable as the Bagginses, though they were undoubtedly richer. I also have a cup of tea here, of course. It's just a black tea. If I'm going to be honest, I completely forgot about it until now, which is just like me to make a pot of tea and then completely forget about it. Where were we? Not that Belladonna Took ever had any adventures after she became Miss Bungo Baggins. Bungo, that was Bilbo's father, built the most luxurious hobbit hole for her, and partly with her money. That was to be found either under the hill, or over the hill, or across the water, and there they remained to the end of their days. So it wasn't Peter's idea. Oh, I have a little note here. So it wasn't Peter Jackson's idea for no shoes. That's so interesting to me, how much my Lord of the Rings knowledge has increased. That at one point I thought it was Peter Jackson's idea to make them not have shoes, but of course it was not. Okay, let's see here. Still, it is probable that Bilbo, her only son, although he looked and behaved exactly like a second edition of his solid and comfortable father, got something a bit queer in his makeup from the Took side. Something that only waited for a chance to come out. The chance never arrived until Bilbo Baggins was grown up, about 50 years old or so. Let me see here. And living in the beautiful hobbit hole built by his father, which I have just described for you, until he had in fact apparently settled down immovably. That's a bit too far out. Right there. By some curious chance one morning long ago in the quiet of the world, when there was less noise and more green, and the hobbits were still numerous and prosperous, and Bilbo Baggins was standing in his door after breakfast smoking an enormous long wooden pipe that reached nearly down to his woolly toes, neatly brushed, Gandalf came by. Gandalf, if you had only heard of a quarter of what I've ever heard about him, and I have only heard very little of all there is to hear. Oh dear. Yes, you would be prepared for any sort of remarkable tales and adventures sprouted up all over the place wherever he went, in the most extraordinary fashion. He had not been down that way under the hill for ages and ages, not since his friend the old Took died. In fact, and the hobbits had almost forgotten what he looked like. He had been away over the hill and across the water on business of his own, since they were all small hobbit boys and hobbit girls. All that was unsuspecting, all that the unsuspecting Bilbo saw that morning was an old man with a staff. He had a tall pointed blue hat. Interesting. A long grey cloak, a silver scarf over which his long white beard hung down below his waist, and immense black boots. Good morning, said Bilbo, and he meant it. The sun was shining and the grass was very green, but Gandalf looked from under his long bushy eyebrows, and that stuck out further than the brim of his shady hat. What do you mean? He said. Do you wish me a good morning, or mean that it is a good morning, whether I want it or not? Such a classic line. Or that you feel this, or you feel good this morning, or that this is a morning to be good on. All of them at once, said Bilbo, and a very fine morning for a pipe of tobacco out of doors into the barge. If you have a pipe about you, sit down and I fill mine. There is no hurry, we have all the day before us. Then Bilbo sat down on a seat by his door, crossed his legs, and blew out a beautiful grey ring of smoke that sailed up into the air without breaking an And I said, very Hobbit. Oh yes, there is no hurry. Very thing for Hobbit to say. Very pretty, said Gandalf. But I have no time to blow smoke rings this morning. I am looking for someone to share in an adventure. That I am arranging, and it is very difficult to find anyone. I should think so in these parts. We are plain quiet folk, and have no use for adventures, nasty, disturbing, uncomfortable things. Make you late for dinner. I can't think of what anyone sees in them, said our Bilbo Baggins, and stuck one thumb behind his braces, and blew out another even bigger snow ring. Then he took out his morning letters, and began to read, pretending to take no more notice of the old man. He had decided that this was not quite his sort, and wanted him to go away, but the old man did not move. He stood leaning on his stick and gazing at the Hobbit without saying anything until Bilbo got quite uncomfortable, even a little cross. Good morning, he said at last. We don't want any adventures here, thank you. You might drive over the hill or across the water. By this he meant that the conversation was at an end. What a lot of things you use good morning for, said Gandalf. Now you mean that you want to get rid of me, and that won't be good until I move off. Not at all, my dear sir. Let me see, I don't think I know your name. Yes, my dear sir. And I do know your name, Mr. Bilbo Baggins. And you do not know my name. And you do know my name, although you don't remember that I belong to it. I am Gandalf. And Gandalf means me. To think that I should have lived to be a very good morning by Belladonna Tuxson, as if I was selling buttons at the door. There is something about a good cup of tea. I mean, when they say it heals your soul, I think they have something in that. It makes me feel so good. It just makes me feel so much better. But look at all of the lines that I underlined. And of course, all of the pages. Let me flip to a random one. Oh. Here we are at the Trolls. You're a booby, said William. Booby yourself, said Tom. Okay. I hope that you enjoyed this very chill video. And I hope you subscribe and comment and like and do all those, fun YouTube things. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.